Greetings everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about Improvised Boarding Party. It's one of the lower decks personal space traits that was added to the game with the newest update, and it's alright. Okay, thanks for watching everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and okay, I guess we should actually talk about it. Unfortunately, it is okay. Like I said, it's an alright trait. It is not as good as I had hoped for, but it's not terrible either. I would say it's sort of a middle-of-the-road trait. It's better than a lot of other traits. It's just not quite at that upper echelon that can justify, you know, a top 10, top 11 placement in your personal space trait roster. What does it do? Well, whenever you activate Boarding Party, it will do kinetic damage to the target, and it also gives you a passive 10% chance to launch Boarding Party rank 1 when using a Control Bridge Officer ability, things like Gravity Well, etc. And that 10% chance is actually pretty low. It doesn't proc very often, so while that part of it is nice, it's not super relevant because you're probably not running that many Control Bridge Officer abilities. But let's go ahead and talk about the actual damage. And I'm just going to go down a list of things that, questions, maybe a sort of an FAQ style thing. Questions that I had, I went out and did a bunch of testing. I meant to have this video out last week, but I just couldn't get around to it. So what does this scale off of, basically? So how do you increase its damage, if there's any way to increase its damage at all? There are some ways. It scales off of aux power, so the more aux power you have, the more damage it'll do. It also scales off of any buffs that specifically give you kinetic damage or physical damage, and it also anything that gives all damage, because as the name implies, it's all damage categories. Anything that gives all damage bonus damage for Cat 2 damage, all damage final damage multipliers, anything that says all damage in it will boost it. And that's pretty much it. There really isn't anything else you can do to increase the damage on it. There are a couple of things that are pretty reasonable to use that are decent consoles you might want to put on your build anyway that do buff this up. One is the Fekiri console. It's a mission reward, and the other is the Tholian web projector, that console that we got from an event a while back. So if you did the event, then you have that as an account unlock, and the Fekiri console you can get anytime just by going and doing the mission. So those are relatively easy to acquire, and both of them do buff up the damage on this trait to the point that it basically doubles the damage almost. So those are things you might want to use anyway that will give it a nice buff, and they happen to be pretty decent consoles anyway. Well, does it work with Augment Boarding Party? The answer is no, it does not work with Augment Boarding Party. It only works with regular Boarding Party. Another question to answer is, does it work with the Starship trait Photonic Boarding Party? And the answer is yes, it does work with Photonic Boarding Party. Unfortunately, Photonic Boarding Party is kind of a meme trait. It really is, it's not a bad effect. It allows a boarding party to apply its effect immediately, so you don't have to wait for the little shuttles to get over to the enemy, and it reduces the cooldown. So it does do something that's useful, but as a Starship trait, it's just way, way, way too weak. It's not strong enough to be a Starship trait, quite frankly, but it does work with Improvised Boarding Party, so if you wanted to use it together, you could. It does address one of the big problems with this trait, which is not a problem with the trait itself, but rather a problem with Boarding Party. Boarding Party just has a really long cooldown. It has a minute cooldown. It's just way too long, and while a Photonic Boarding Party does kind of fix that, it requires you to take up a whole Starship trait, so definitely not worth it in my opinion, unless you're just doing a fun kind of a build. So, in my opinion, this kind of reminds me of Boimler. Not the Boimler effect, but the Boimler Duty Officer that everyone got for free. If you haven't claimed it yet, I think you can get it from the Promotions tab. But you got they gave us 4 different lower decks duty officers a while back, at least on PC, and one of them is Boimler. And if you slot him as an active duty officer for space, He adds a effect to your regular torpedo hits, that is, ones that aren't being fired under a special firing mode like high yield or torp spread, to create a radiation cloud. And the damage from that is, it's fine. It does a decent little amount of damage. It's probably not optimal because you can use more powerful duty officers, and that's how I feel about Improvised Boarding Party. So kind of fitting that it's also, a lower dex thing. Because the truth of the matter is, yeah, I've gotten as much as 5K out of this trait, which sounds good, but that was on the high end. Usually it's more like 2 or 3K. So yeah, it's not bad. I'm not going to tell you it's a bad trait. It's an okay trait. It's just not a great trait. And since it's 200 Lobi, that's really expensive. So, if you've got the lobes, if you've got the Lobi sitting around, if you're flush with cash and you want to pick it up for fun, then I would say definitely go for it. But don't buy it thinking that you're going to get something that's like a meta trait or really good or anything like that. This is just kind of a fun messing around trait. So I don't regret picking it up. I do have some fun with it. I do like to do fun builds once in a while. But again, it's just kind of an okay trait. That's my review of Improvised Boarding Party. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.